How many times would you let someone lie to you before you stop believing them? That's the story of the boy who cried wolf, right? At some point, you stop believing the lie. The first time you might scream fire in a crowded theater, yeah, maybe it's a spectacle. People run for the exits, all chaos everywhere. Could be great for a headline, right? The next time you do it, though, yeah, that starts to get old pretty quick. But here's the thing, it can work. Those kinds of tactics, they grab your attention, at least for a minute. So let's check the record real quick. At the turn of the 20th century, sensationalism dominated the newsstand. Headlines like this one: vigilantes hunt down a band of baby murderers. It sold like wildfire. Joseph Pulitzer's New York World and William Randolph Hearst's New York Journal, they didn't care much about the truth. They cared about ratings. Facts were secondary. And it worked until the sinking of the USS Maine. Both papers ready to pounce, blaming Spain without much in the way of proof. And, well, war broke out. Maybe that infamous era of yellow journalism didn't start the war, but it sure set stage for panic to spread. Fast forward a century, much the same story. A lot of same media errors. The Iraq War was sold with misleading intelligence and fear-mongering headlines, but this time, instead of making the adjustments that Pulitzer later did in his career to pull back on scare tactics and focus on facts and context, some politicians tapped into the rage, filled that void, discredited the entire press, and then started selling stuff so bizarre the National Enquirer wouldn't print it. If we were right to be enraged at bad information back then why would we accept it in a more entertaining or partisan package now? That's what we saw this week when President Donald Trump told America that Social Security was being marauded by an army of 150-year-olds. The president claimed there were 1.3 million mythical people between 150 and 159 years old, and another 130,000 people older than 160 collecting benefits. Oh yeah, and one guy at 360 years old. Right, because in the same year Isaac Newton was discovering gravity, some innovative fortune teller was scheming how to defraud a government that didn't exist yet. All right, let's break this down. First, it's not true. The Social Security Administration doesn't have 360-year-olds collecting checks, obviously. What it does have is imperfect records and old databases that sometimes miss a data point here or there, maybe the date that someone died. Now, financial mismanagement or poor record keeping, those are real issues. But out of $8.6 trillion in Social Security benefits over a 7-year span, the government had an accuracy rate of 99.2%. Hey, imagine if our politicians had a 99% accuracy rate. Still, just about 1% of that was improper. And guess what? Most of those mistakes were overpayments to living people, not to pirate ghosts who sailed the Mayflower. But which story is more exciting there? An Excel spreadsheet that's just missing the date someone died, or colonial-era zombies coming back to haunt us and rob us blind to pay for their powdered wigs? Look, boring stories about bureaucrats finding the needle in their haystack and then going about their job to fix it, it doesn't drive clicks. It doesn't get hype. You know how we know? Because the AP wrote this story back during the Biden administration when the government was already fixing the problem. The Treasury clawed back $31 million from people who were very much alive and continued working to recover more overpayments. You just never heard about it because it wasn't wrapped in a comic book strip with exaggerated embellishments. Here's the real fraud. We've been down this road before. We've watched the same exaggerations, the same theatrics designed to create fear and make us panic. Whether it's dead voters, inflated economic doom, or now Rip Van Winkle swiping our Social Security, these are distractions. They're not real answers. What really matters is integrity, accountability, and honesty. Yes, from the press and from people in power. Because when we let leaders lie over and over again to us, eventually we stop believing everything they say. So here's the real question. Why accept a lie from your president when you wouldn't accept one from a tabloid?